Comics. Has the internet and TV industry killed our beloved comics? Before you start, I will be discussing British comics. I will not be discussing Marvel and DC because I know those types of comics are alive and well. Hence why they're all the superhero films and stuff at the moment. I'm going to be talking about British comics. Not in the sense of superheroes, in the sense of children's British comics of like the Beano and The Dandy. For those of you who don't know, the Beano and Dandy are children's comics, as I mentioned before, but they've been produced in this country for over 75 years, even surviving World War II, full of cartoon characters and quirky sort of characters like that. Like Dennis the Menace, Desperate Dan, Corky the Cat, the Bash Street Kid, Roger the Dodger. To American audiences, these names might mean nothing, but for some British audiences, they are people's childhoods, and they were my childhood. So I'm going to be discussing why I think these comics, like the Beano and The Dandy, have been killed off over the years by things like the internet, TV, films, stuff like that. Games have killed the comic industry, or I think are killing the comic industry, or are they? We're going to be discussing that. Two comics, the first, The Dandy, starting in 1937, and the Beano starting in 1938. Now, both comics have thrived for a long time, but their sales have dropped, to the point where The Dandy even finished back in December 2012, while trying to go online, but unfortunately didn't get very far and only survived 6 months as a sort of a online-only comic, and then it eventually died in the summer of 2013. So, with the Beano still going, but suffering as well, and I think there's an injustice in there. As a child, from the age of 8, I enjoyed these comics, and for some reason, kids nowadays obviously don't. But there is obviously a reason behind it. It's games, it's films, it's the internet, you know, computers. It's things like this that have distracted kids of nowadays away from these things, and I think it's a shame because comics are, you know, not only did comics are the things that help me to read. Back when I started reading comics when I was 8, I struggled for a long time, and it was the likes of Dennis and Nasher and Desperate Dan that got me into reading, that got me to, you know, to properly read, and it helped me because I enjoyed doing it. I have a lot of happy memories of these comics. I still collect them. You see the great big bloody, I don't know if you can see it behind me here. This thing here is full of comics, Beano and Dandies. I've been collecting them for years. And I think it's a shame that the generations now, people 8-year-olds nowadays, don't get that. My little brother is 10 years old. He doesn't read as much as he should. But I don't think that the comic industry is dying, hence the Beano is still going, and I think it's coming back. There are the likes of comics like The Phoenix, which was originally a subscription-based comic. I don't know how it goes now, but are actually selling more and more, and I think Marvel Comics and DC are good examples of why these paper things can, you know, entertain us more over TV or games or anything like that. So, yeah, I think there needs to be a push to advertise these things to kids better, and not end up like a poor old Dandy, which, you know, died after 75 years. 75 years! It survived World War II, but couldn't survive a battle against the likes of modern technology. And it's a shame, and it's an absolute shame, especially considering I still read these. I mean, I feel bad because I stopped collecting the regular issues way back 5 years ago now. You know, I stopped collecting it purely because it was a money thing and all that, and I feel bad for it. You know, this issue of The Dandy was the last, obviously would be the last one anyone would ever buy in the shops, but it was the first time I bought a Dandy in like 2.5 years, and people just grow out of it. And I think there's a market still for comics. It just needs to be sent to that audience, and I want to find a way to do that because I think it's a part of, especially British culture. I mean, America might not understand this as much, but it was a key part of British culture, and you know, the Beano is still there, and I still think it is, and I still think there's scope for it. I think the interest is still there. And there's got to be a way to advertise these comics. I believe that there is still a future for these characters, because I want kids nowadays, kids in the future, my children, I want them to read these amazing things, because they help me to read. They're educational, they're fun, and they get you away from a glowing screen. And I think there's more to life than just glowing screens. And take it from me, considering I'm bloody looking at one there. I'm looking at one in a reflection on showing what I'm recording right now, and there's about 5 screens within view of my face. Like my previous videos, music and Xbox, and these things I talk about, they've affected me. Doctor Who has affected me. Xbox has affected me. Music has affected me. It all develops in the person I am now, and I'm very grateful for all these things. And it's saddening to see something, especially the comics being the oldest, the thing I used to enjoy at a younger period, not being enjoyed anymore. And not because the characters are uninteresting, it's because people don't know about them. People have other options, and there's got to be a way to sort of resurrect these things. What are Marvel and DC doing right that DC Thompson and people who make these things can learn from and to make? I'll leave a link to the websites of both of the said comics. They both got websites, although the Dandy one hasn't been updated in ages. Just check them out. Go on eBay. You can buy the old comics. I mean, I've still got loads of them. I still buy them. I still get them. I get them from. I even got one from work the other day because they knew I had an interest in it. I still enjoy these characters. It's just I need to find the time to sit down and read. So anyway, if you like this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, favourite, and all that nonsense. It's all down below. Follow me on Twitter, and I'll see you in the next one. It's been quite an emotional few videos, I think, where I've discussed things that I'm passionate about and things I really am passionate about. So I want to discuss with the world and see what you think. Leave me a comment and see what you think about comics. Have you heard of the Beano? Have you heard of The Dandy? What do you think about them? If you know about them, would you give them a look? Would it be something, So yeah, and I'll see you in the next video. So have a good day. Playing these games and getting these achievements, and there's a real social element of it. A lot of people say there isn't. A lot of people say it's all just for loners who have nothing better to do. But I think the Xbox 360 was one thing that beat over the PlayStation 3 was the fact that was the interactivity between players. People can play in parties.